That works for me. Okay, here we are, 10:10. So tonight we'll finish up a little bit early so I can go evaluate our new instructor. And what I want to talk about tonight are the 2 homework assignments that are due and a few other pieces of trivia. One, let's start with the big one, the glibc exploit that is trending right now in the let's see, where is it? Debug. glibc bug. I was on the register. Well, let's just see. There is a new bug in glibc that's a big deal. And it's trending now. And let's see if I can find the over here. Yeah. This is Looney Tunable. Now, it's the GSIB, the GNU C library handling of environment variables. Okay. We covered environment variables in here a little bit. No. Okay. We better do that. The glib is kind of a DLL for Linux. It's a giant blob that gets incorporated into your source code when you do things that require a lot of access to, say, like disk drives and video and so on and so forth. And what they've found is can achieve root privileges on the default installations. And Debian 12 is brand new. I mean, it's just been released. 13 is the next version. And although Alpine is not, because it does not use a glibc, it doesn't use systemd, it uses a much smaller footprint. It's also not something you want to run a desktop on. And it's showing you where this problem is and what you need to do to fix it. Okay. So this is something, if you're running Linux at home, you want to check. And I've run the patches for all the machines that I'm around. So we should be okay unless the patch isn't a complete patch. Okay. But when you do your compile, you know how you have your linker and you put in your .os and your different .os to make your code. Well, glib will be one of those things that's brought in. When you say include standard stdio or vector or some of the other streams, the .h files, that's going to bring in the glib for you. Okay. Can you choose not to? Yeah, but probably don't, because you have to reinvent the wheel. Oh, I got to rewrite this whole subsystem to write to disk. Why? You know, it's already out there. Okay. So this is something that's very current. It's fresh. As of the beginning of this month, here's the official write-up. LD stands for loadable shared object. So this is a giant object that's brought in, and it shows you what it's about. So this is very timely. So in assembler, yeah, we're here. Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention for free is this place. I'll go back over END variables in a second here. Okay. This is free. for you, if you are so inclined. If you pay, I think it's $36 a year, which is $3 a month, you can build out, you can host your own domain name. You can also host a website, just like you do on the Jeremy box. And there it is. So very simple. And this is free. And it's sdf.org. It's called Super Domain Fortress. It runs on NetBSD, and they have computers kind of spread out the country. Part of it's in Austin, part of it's up in Portland. And they've been spinning disk since '87, I think. So in the early days of blogs, or BBS is Gopher, all the text-based adventure games, they have all that. They also have the ability to do VPN. So if you want a free VPN, part of that $36, this is it. They also have the ability to run Minecraft. So if you want to set up a Minecraft server for your grandkids or kids, there you go. They also support the old modem dial-up stuff. So if you're out in the middle of Nowheresville and you need a modem to connect, they have phone numbers you can actually call and do that. And they're pretty good coverage on continental United States. I don't know how well it would work up in the nether regions of Alaska. Okay. And they've been around a while and been very helpful. I used to use this in my Linux class. I don't so much anymore because I have the Jeremy box now. So I don't need it as much as I used to. Okay. And a buzzword, grok. Anybody? No? Okay. Grok, you'll find it in print. It's like on Stack Exchange. Hey, I'm trying to grok assembler. And basically what it means is, okay, I know everything in this book now. That's what grokking means, is you get it. And it comes from a science fiction author, Robert Heinlein, A Stranger in a Strange Land. And it was, you know how Avatar has the ICU thing? Well, grok is kind of that. It's at that full level thing. So to grok is to understand deeply. Now, right now, let's jump into an environment variable so you can understand what glib is and why it's important. Good, Zuntech. So everybody log into the Jeremy box the way you want to. I don't really care how you do it. I will probably be bouncing around a little bit. And we will be setting an environment variable so you can understand what an environment variable does. Because this environment variable idea is the core of the DOM in JavaScript and how the web works. When you have a field called name and you put something in that field name and the value, key value, is passed to the server by way of the environment. It's a chunk of memory. That's all it is. Okay. So once you're logged in, type in env. These are all the environment variables that are set when you log in. Okay. I think I'll do it from this one because I can get more of a screen. Let's go here. env. And it's what? Yeah, here we go. Now I've logged in through SSH, and you all have something that will look similar. It's a little different. This funny looking thing here is LS colors. So when you type in LS, You can use a flag to make it colorized. So your terminal will explain the different colors, and mine is not set. Oh, there it is. I have it set for one of them. So you can see the different colors here. Those different colors are set here. Doesn't that look like a lot of fun to figure out? In the early days of Unix, there were 100 different manufacturers of terminals. And each terminal had a different way of displaying stuff. So you had to write this translation code called term caps and look these up and put them in to make your terminal work on your system of choice. It was programmer hell. It was no fun. Then the improvement was term info, where you can compile it, it made it faster. But this goes back a long ways. But it's there. There's your environment variable. Okay. And let's set an environment variable. So let's set one called my env1 equals no spaces. We're in bash, so no spaces. So my env1 hello. So let me do this. That's what I just typed in. Now, how do I display that? Echo. That's right. You've done that for this lab 3, where you echo $? It's returning the exit code. So here we say echo $my. And what do I get? Okay. Type in bash. Now type in echo $my env1. Why is it not there? I'm giving you clues here. And basically what has happened, I logged in. I have a namespace allocated to my user. That namespace is a chunk of RAM that's in my current running machine. I've set an environment variable in that namespace. I type in bash, I get a new namespace. Is that variable over here now? No, it's because I've created a new namespace. And this echo shell level is telling me how many layers deep of shell processes bash that I have. So if I type in bash again and again and say echo and if I type in exit once and type in echo $shell level, and you see what's happening. You type in bash, your shell level increments. You type in exit, your shell level decrements.
There's something I do pretty frequently to reload bash. I type exec bash, and that doesn't spawn another bash process. I'm just curious why that is. What does exec bash do?
Exec runs it as a sub process, and it gives it it shares the namespace. Okay, it would be interesting to see is, does your environment variable carry through?
Right.
Because as exec is basically saying use the same memory space.
No, it does not.
But not. Okay, so it's actually creating a new namespace. The way we do this in Bash to make it permanent is the word export. So if you cat dot bash rc, you can see there's these export commands that are in your bash. So if we are now at what? Echo show level 3. If I look at my edit command or my edit variable, what's it going to say? Mim, because it's exported. What this means is every time I kick off a bash shell, if I export my environment variables, they will be there in all my new namespaces, all my new shell memories. And this is the exploit that the glib is doing, is that this environment variable stuff is just in RAM. When you log out, it all goes away. So if I set, I'm at what, shell level 3? If I set a environment variable here, we'll call it my env3, and we'll call it hi. I'll echo it. Hi. It's only in shell level 3. But if I type in exit right now, what happens to that memory space that was allocated to that? It gets swept and removed. So if I type in bash again, let's show you what I'm talking about here. I'm at shell level 2. So I exited one bash. I set a variable at 3. So let's run bash. So I'm back at level 3. But it's not there. Because when you exit, the memory namespace gets reallocated to the pool and it gets flushed. But does it? That's in essence the glib exploit, is that when you set and reset variables, they're not totally reset if you know where to find them in the RAM space. It's like recovering a deleted file. When you delete a file in Windows, it's not really deleted. They just change the first character to a question mark. So if you know what you're doing, you can find all the question mark leading file names and recover your data. You can kind of do that on Linux as well, but it's not, it's a little tougher, okay? All right, that's environment variables. Windows has environment variables. If I open my shell here, what is it? Except you don't lead it with, or do you lead it with a question mark? All right, people, tell me, how does it work? Is it set? Ah, yeah, the word set. There we go. This see, it's all user profile. Let's look up one here. Home path, home drive, whatever that is. My goodness. Prompt. Change your prompt. Oh, is it? Oh. All right. Who knows how to display a Windows variable?
Oh, it's the percentage sign.
Pardon?
Percentage signs on.
Percent.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right. Percent. And then it's percent.
Yeah. But you have to echo.
Yeah, that's it. There we go. That's right. That's right. I tried to get a job at TID, and that was the one question I missed. And it didn't get me to the second round because I had been a Unix guy, and they wanted to hire some Windows NT people. And I said, I'll try. Didn't happen. But so you might want to make note of that, how to display a Windows environment variable, because you're going to be assembly programs, right? Okay. Thank you. I couldn't remember. I don't use Windows enough to remember that. Okay. All right. So that's the ENV library, that rock, free shell. Yeah, that's all the important stuff. Now let's talk a little bit about what we were doing with our languages. Okay. How did anybody have some fun with that? Or was it just pure hell going, do I really have to do this? What a pain. It's okay. I won't take it personally. The reason I bring that forward is I'm going to pass out a piece of paper here. And I want you all to keep it. Okay? And this piece of paper is nothing fancy. It's just lines in a box. So grab one, pass around, rest on the back table, and notice that the box isn't quite a real box around the lines. Now I printed these off today, and I said, you know what? I need to kind of talk about that crazy lab we were doing. So I want to show you the direct result of some of the research that you looked at about why I gave you this assignment. Okay, so I'll let this go around. And so while you're sitting there looking on it, just trace your finger around the edge of the box and see what's going on here. It's an Eicher-esque like drawing. So it's not, it doesn't exist in real space. Okay. All right. I guess I could draw it on the board and give everybody an idea what it looks like. It's basically an offshoot of this critter. It's a great philosophical question. Does it exist? Well, not in 3D space, but it does exist in 2D space. All right. So that's basically the box. I made it bigger, put lines in it. Isn't that cool? Not really. You're going, this is stupid. Why are we talking about it? I shall show you. Yeah. Whoops. I'm on the wrong computer. Let me get on the right computer. Nope. Yep. Here we go. What I did is I sent a file to the printer and it printed it. Okay, big deal. What did I send to the printer? This. This is called PostScript. Anybody print a PDF file? PDF is nothing more than basically compressed, optimized PostScript. So when it goes to the printer, it goes faster. That's it. This is a full Turing complete programming language. This is based off the idea of the programming language Forth. This is Adobe. This is what put Adobe on the map. This is what made the guys that started Adobe gazillionaires. PostScript had been around a while. And what they did is they wrote basically they took printers that would take this kind of stuff and make it look pretty on the printer. in the early days, we didn't have WYSIWYG. We had what we saw on the screen and what we saw on the printer, and they were two very different things. What you see is what you get, is what is the norm today. And basically, I took this code from a tool called Inkscape that allows you to save it in PostScript. And I went through and I changed a few things. It was actually just 3 boxes. And I went through and found where the joints were and changed how the lines were drawn. So if you look at real closely, they're not lined up very well. There's some mistakes there. You can see a space in one corner. They're off a couple pixels. Okay. Programming in this area is kind of tedious because you make a change, save it, print. Make a change, save it, print. Make it save. Takes forever. So this is one of the reasons I had you do this, is that virtual machine idea and the language idea is something you use every single day. How does it work? Same with a remote. How does it work? Well, there's some tools you can put, I know on Linux, that let you show how your mouse is moving. And it shows all the X and Y of how the mouse is moving, and it's pretty trippy. And you can capture it and play with it, have some fun with it. Okay. But this was the one of the reasons I wanted to show you this is legitimate programming, but you're not going to go to school to learn PostScript. But domain specific languages, like a programming language to make the clocks synchronize throughout all the campus, it's an embedded system. And they have this little thing and it talks to all these machines, and they click a button and it talks in its various protocols and it sets all the clocks to the same. Again, it's not a programming language you're going to find in school. Okay. So PostScript. All right. Now, as you can see, I had lots of fun ones here. Now, I do want to show you this one just because it's fun. Somebody tells you, oh, you need a pay card to print. What if I told you you don't need a pay card to print? Would you listen?
Yeah.
This is basically how it works. Your printer has some information built in. And the printer has a name. And generally speaking, the name is something like that, NPI and the MAC address of the network card. Okay. And sometimes they put it here, sometimes they don't. But you can also print, depending on the printer, they may let you print it. Or sometimes it just displays. Okay. Now what's printing? PostScript, PDF. And here it shows a MAC address. And this particular host name is called cat 231 PTR01. That's the name of the printer. But I also have an IP address. 10.18.163.24 is my IP. Now, from the interesting, I don't think it'll work from, you're connected wirelessly, right? You're on Windows?
I am.
You're on Windows, you're on Windows. Do NS lookup on that IP address. You know, assembly, networking, forensics, low level, that's what we're doing. We're going to see if we can get a packet from their machines to the printer. Just do NS lookup on that IP address and see if it says anything legit. It may return not host not found, or it will return this. 231 PTR 01. Work? Say hello? Or is it just timing out?
It kind of looks like what you have there.
So when you type in NS lookup, this IP address, it returns this.
Well, it's not just that, it's it's kind of weird.
Okay, let's take a look. Because wireless doesn't route technically. But that doesn't mean we can cheat. Okay, it says, well, it gives you something. Now reverse it, do NS lookup. And type in cat 231 PTR01. Basically that name right there. You're on the Jeremy box today. It's gonna work for the Jeremy box. Try it from your Windows prompt.
Yeah.
Open your command line. Yeah, there we go. And type in and then look up. All one word. There we go.
Yeah.
And do 10, about 18, 163, 24. And it was the same. Not that. Okay, so wireless. It'll work from the LAN and it'll work from the Jeremy box. But what we've just determined is that it won't work over wireless. Why? Well, if I log in on wireless, it will work. When you log in wireless, it won't work. What's the differentiating factor? Active Directory, security profiles. Student profiles do not allow access to the LAN. Instructor profiles do. But for the sake of argument, let's show you how to print a file. And all I'm going to do is this thing called NC. That says netcat. NC is like the Swiss Army knife of networking. You can do just about anything with it. It's a very sharp tool. So you can do some very interesting things. There's a couple ways you can do this. And each one, like this one. So in this case, what I would do is if I take my file that I was using earlier today, this one, if I cat that file and then I give it netcat and then I give it that IP address, 24 space 9100, and then let it sit. It prints. Hit Control C. That's how you bypass the printing subsystem. Is you find the IP address of it, and you go to port 9100. That's a special port. That is the LaserJet port that receives print jobs. Now, the pay portal may block that. It may not. One way to find out is to try it and see if it works. But where are you going to get netcat? Can you install it on Windows? Yeah, somewhere, somehow. This Moab X term has it. It's called netcat. So there it is. So Windows, if I install the Moab Xterm free, I get Netcat. And then I can, instead of typing NC, I type in Netcat and do the same thing and print. So now, are you stealing resources when you do that? Here's the best way to answer the question. If you're a computer science student, you can print for free in the Magic Lab, as long as you're not printing a book. So if you have a small term paper or 4 or 5 pages, just come over here and print it. It's free. So you don't have to worry about the pay cards and everything. Do they still have those on campus? Are they in the library? I think they got really tired of trying to fix these things because they were always breaking down. You have to buy the card, you got to charge the card, and then you got to put the card in, and then you print, and then it doesn't work, and then you got to call the tech support. And I think they just gave up, because the amount of money they were making on it didn't even cover paper costs. So it wasn't worth the time. Okay. So now you know something you didn't know before. Okay. All right. Okay, now this over to the labs. So this is due, and I will do my best to get the grades on these as soon as possible. Did everybody figure this one out? Okay, because if you're still having trouble with it, the question has come up, where did you get it from? I said, it's Programming from the Ground Up. That was the name of the book. It was on my website, but it killed my Linode. So I moved it to Canvas. And in Canvas, it's under Files, eBooks, and then there's the 3 that we're using. One is called Using As, or the compiler, the assembler, Programming from the Ground Up, and then Introduction to Computing, which I believe is this same book. I think it's the same version too. Okay. That one's pretty big. Okay. So if you got a Kindle, you can load it on your Kindle or send it to your phone with the Kindle app. All right. And languages, we were talking about this earlier. What language really got somebody's interest? Which one?
Ruby.
Ruby. There are 788 jobs that have Ruby somewhere in the description. Okay. And this is at dice.com. It's more of a tech site. I'm sure you can do the same thing on Indeed or some of the other sites. But this is kind of how you can look at, where do I want to put my time learning? And this is one I know we should actually see. Oh, I can't even remember how to spell it. There we go. This TIOBE index is rates programming languages. And what they do, it's very non-scientific. What they do is they look at things like Stack Exchange and job boards, and they kind of scrape the internet and look for the keywords of the programming languages to find out if they're ramping up or they're ramping down. Okay. So you can see that right now, Python's up there. C has been in the top 5 as long as I can remember, which, goes way back. And then Java, JavaScript, TypeScript, assembly language. Wow. It went down. It was in 8th place. Now it's in 10th place. Wow. That's a lot. MATLAB. That's a commercial product and it's used for data science and graphics and, well, data science for making graph, Rust. And then it shows you this language from 2002 all the way up to 2000, the latest they have. Okay. And you can kind of see how Java has done its thing. C has done its thing. Like right about here, C went way down to the bottom. This was in 2017. Yeah, September 17. You have to look at the stock market, find out what was going on then to see if it was related to jobs, people getting laid off. A lot of things dipped in 2008. But still, when you look at some of these things, here's some old stuff. Position, so on, and awk, yeah. Very long-term history. It shows you where they rated. See, in 1988, Python didn't even exist. It wasn't even born yet. C and C++ were around. Fortran and ADA were. ADA was used a lot by government. It was a committee. It was to take place of COBOL. There's a lot of legacy code out there, but I don't think I'd want a job in Ada because you're not doing anything greenfield. Greenfield, brownfield. Greenfield means you get to write brand new stuff. Brownfield means you get to take care of somebody's old crap. Most beginning programmers are going to be in the brownfield arena. We get used to it. You're going to have to learn how to fix things before you get to write the new stuff. Okay. Unless you're on your own, that's a whole different story. And you can see, wow, 1 and 2. C++ is still up there. Where's Rust? It's not there yet. Lisp was number 2 back in 1988. Visual Basic. Yeah, that was before Microsoft bought them. Yeah. So, how do you want to plan your career? Yeah. I would put SQL in there. I would definitely learn SQL. Everything's database driven. So, okay. I know. All right. So, when we meet on Thursday, we will talk about the labs of 4 and 5. Well, that one's pretty straightforward. You just walk through the chapters. That's not very difficult. 5 and 6, we'll go through these again, and I'll give you some clues on these, and then I'll get 7 posted, which is where you're bringing in a factorial in, okay? And then hopefully we'll be able to learn how to disassemble far enough to be able to take some code and make it our assembler code. And I don't know how far we'll get doing that, but if you walk out of here knowing how the debugger works, you are definitely going to be light years ahead of your peers. Okay. Because if you go to, what is it, Valley Works, and you talk to people and say, have you used a debugger? It's almost always no. So, yeah. Hey. Oh. You can play, work on your homework. If you need help with the lab, I'll be here. I also have to get ready for my eval, make sure I have all the right paperwork. Oh, I did want to mention that. Nginx, they just brought in WebAssembly. So you can run native WebAssembly on a high performance parallel type web server. Imagine LibreOffice running in WebAssembly. Or Microsoft Excel running in WebAssembly. You don't care what your OS is. You just need a browser that runs WebAssembly. That's where it's headed. Okay. On that note, I will stop the recording. Let's see here. Okay.